Welcome to Adam's Den.
What movies and TV shows have as a visual medium that books don't is they can instantly set the scene.
Hmm.
So with a book, you would have to have paragraphs upon paragraphs of narrative description in order to convey even comparable amount of information. Whereas with a TV show or a movie, you could set the scene instantly. So this is something that I think Adventure Time does really well. If you're familiar with that animated show, um,
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
yeah, so they're actually incredible at this. They follow the rule. It's essentially poetry. Adventure Time is basically poetry. What they do is they compress incredibly complex ideas, and then they express them in these very deep stories crammed into tiny 10-minute segments. Kind of like how a poem might encapsulate a much more complicated idea in a very short set of stanzas. And how it does this is with the art of compression. So with compression, the idea is to essentially maximize the amount of information that can be conveyed in the least amount of time.
Hmm.
So one example that I always come back to when talking about how Adventure Time uses visual format as a way to compress information is there was one episode where the main characters are trapped in a treehouse and they're playing a game and there's no power. And they set the scene in like literally 2.5 seconds. It shows a dagger storm. So this is like a fantasy world where weird things happen all the time.
Oh,
It just
wow.
There's 1 second or like 1.5 seconds where it just shows daggers falling outside, and you already have a reason why they can't leave the house. So it's like in order to do that in writing,
Right.
you would have to like explain like there's a dagger storm. Here's what it looks like. Here's how it's happening, and they're able to do it in like 1 second. Like it's instantly. It's only been 2 seconds. You already know why they're trapped inside and why things are happening the way they are, and then they launch into some dialogue and stuff. But there are things that visual formats can't do. So books are really good at exploiting the other senses besides sight and sound. With movies and TV shows, you can't really explore smell
Right.
or taste very well. You could show the person taking a bite of something and going ew yuck, but that's about it. You can only show like their reaction. Whereas with a book, it's much more natural to show how something tastes or how something smells. You can go into those weird senses that we don't really tap into.
Hmm.
And then video games, video games. This is a complicated one, but video games, they have something even more intricate that can't really be done very well with either movies or books, and that's environmental storytelling. And the reason why you can't do it with books is because you would have to literally tell them about it.
Hmm.
So it's like if there's a subtle detail in the background, you would have to write, and this detail was in the background. Like you would have to literally tell
Yeah,
the
yeah.
audience that it's there. With a TV show or a movie, you could subtly hide stuff actually in the background, and maybe they won't. Not all of them will notice. Pixar movies are really good at that, at this like little Easter egg stuff. But with video games, it's so much more powerful. The best example I could think of would be like in The Witcher 3, and The Witcher 3 is full of these. But one good example is when you arrive in this area called Skellige. There's a woman. I don't remember what she did. She committed some horrible crime. It was like murder or something like that. And so they tell her that as punishment, she's going to be chained to a rock in the middle of the ocean, and she's going to be left to die in the ocean. So, but then later on, if you're exploring on your
Wow.
boat, it's a very small little detail, so most people miss it. They probably don't even come in this area. But if you're paying close attention, you actually find a rock, and you're like, "Hey, what's on that rock? There's something there." And if you get closer, you'll see that it's a woman chained to the rock, and she's like a skeleton now. So it's like little details like that are so easy to miss. That's environmental storytelling. You're literally telling the story of what happened to someone, or what events transpired with the environment itself. And
Yeah.
because it's interactive art, how much each player's experience is going to be different because each player is literally interacting with it differently. With books and TV shows and movies, you have an emotion, you interact with them emotionally, but you're not generating an input that goes into the art itself. Whereas with video games, that is the case.
Listen to the entire podcast for free on YouTube or Spotify, and also a bunch of other places. Check the links below, pick your favorite, and boom, you're done. Also, please subscribe to the channel and smack a like if you're enjoying it so far. And why not join the conversation in the comments section below? Do it. I dare ya.